All right. Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us for this session of Metadata's world famous demand event. I'm Dave Gerhardt. I am the founder of ExitFive. It's a leading community for B2B marketers. I also wrote a book called Founder Brand, and that's the topic that we're going to talk about here today. I'm lucky to be joined by four awesome startup founders, startup leaders who, interestingly enough, have all embraced this idea of founder-led marketing, each in their own way, and that's what we're going to talk about with you today. I think the goal of this session is I'd like to give you one or two new ideas about how you can either, if you're already doing this, get better at it, or bring this back to your company, to your founder, and help you convince them that this is a worthwhile strategy in investing in. And we're going to get into some tactical and specific examples from this crew today. But first, I want to do quick intros, talk about just really briefly who you are and what your company does. Let's go Gil, Kate, Allison, and then Adam.
Hi, everyone. I'm Kate Stevens. I'm the founder and CEO of Bridge. We bridge the offline and the online for omni-channel brands. And some of your best-in-class brands from Feastables, Black Diamond, Gosney, any brand that loses that customer relationship when selling in retail.
Beautiful. Allison.
I'm Allison Whalen. I'm the CEO and founder of Parentally. We work with companies that have rolled out generous paid parental leave policies and then realize, oh my gosh, it's actually incredibly difficult to help people build coverage plans and step out and return to work. And managers have no idea what to do. So we come in and we provide career coaching and manager training and an online toolkit to support that entire experience.
Adam.
I am Adam Robinson. I'm the founder and CEO of Retention.com and RB2B. RB2B is person-level website visitor identity. Will identify people on your site and push LinkedIn profiles to Slack for free.
Gil, send us.
Founder and CEO of Metadata. Very happy to be here. We run performance marketing for B2B companies, help them generate pipeline in a predictable manner with economies of scale.
All right. So each one of you have adopted this idea of founder-led marketing. I want to hear about what that means and how you've taken it into your company. Allison, what have you done? How have you embraced this at Parentally, and what do you do? You're here because you're doing founder-led marketing. How do you answer that question?
Gosh, we need way more time to talk about that. It started very organically. I started posting on LinkedIn years and years ago. And then when we made the intentional decision to make this a core part of our company, quite frankly, it was because of a few things. One is people buy from people. The other thing is parental leave is so emotional. And we found that the best way to explain the problem was to anchor it in a human, i.e. me, as opposed to try and drown people in logic and data. And quite frankly, I wish I could say, oh, we were so smart and we came up with this big idea of founder-led marketing. I mean, honestly, we just started doing it. And then when every single person we met with in sales meetings started talking about what we were saying on LinkedIn, that's when we were like, all right, we've got to get serious about this and do it in a more sophisticated way.
Okay, there's going to be a common thread here. Adam, what's your approach to founder-led marketing been?
So first of all, did everybody start doing this because of Dave's book?
No.
I know I did. Yeah.
We started doing it better because of his book, but we'd started before.
Well, that makes it, my favorite line lately is my favorite review of the book is there's 1 star on Amazon, and some guy, it's always a guy, he wrote 1 star, this book should have been a blog post.
Right.
So it's having impact. Maybe it should have been a blog post, but it's clearly working.
Well, my journey started when I was talking to Patrick Campbell about it, and he's like, well, just read Gerhardt's book and see what you think about it. And, right now, I would say it's my entire job, aside from Monday, which I do at internal meetings. It's like making LinkedIn content, running a live event, and then doing guest slots on podcasts, almost all the rest of what I do. And I think that the reason it's so powerful for me is because early on, I shared before I started doing founder-led marketing, I shared an office with the Jasper AI guys for 2 years before they started that company. And then I saw the prolific rise of that company. And I was like, wow, all content is going to be B- sludge. What I need to do if I want to build up my own personal social media profile is be as authentic and human as humanly possible. So I think that it's obvious if you look at what I'm doing, that's like the goal. And I think the reason it works so well is because of that. And I also really believe that it's creating human-human connection at scale. And how I manifest that is I try to give a thoughtful response to every single comment that somebody leaves me. So I just think that's going to compound over time with people feeling like they actually have a personal relationship with me.
Yeah, I love that. I love weaving in the trend of like what's happening with AI and in a world where I wrote about this recently where I was like, I think authenticity is the number one marketing strategy is going to continue to be just because it's so easy to like fuel your blog and content strategy with AI generated content where like if you have an actual story and the premise of writing the book Founder Brand is like, I just think that by nature, who you all are as founders crazy enough to decide to start a company, invest your money and other people's money into it, the time, sweat, tears, all that to go and build a company, you must have, I know each one of you personally now, like something in each one of your backstories led you to start this company. And then the learnings that you have by running this company, just all of those ingredients inherently make for the best marketing content. When I was at this company called Drift and working for a CEO called David Cancel, he was the muse to my marketing. I basically just got to interview him, ghostwrite for him, talk about his background, tell those stories, and I saw that as a way to bring that into the marketing story. And I think marketing is ultimately about getting people to know, like, and trust you, and doing that through the founder's story, and then selling your product second is the way to do that. Kate, what about you? Where did this come in for you?
So I started like your typical startup hustle founder. I was everywhere that could be humanly possible. I was at events and, when I sold to customers and I got them on a demo, I'd close the deals, but it just wasn't scaling. We're a venture backed business. My co-founder and I were like, okay, we need to invest in marketing. We don't entirely understand what that is. Hired someone for marketing. The number one thing he pitched was Founder Brand and to read Dave's book. So read it, got it immediately. It felt very organic and normal and authentic to me. And I wrote my first post on a Thanksgiving day, actually, about like who I was thankful for. And then really, created a strategy behind it that, a year later, a little year and change, it's like 70% of our leads come from, in many ways, like LinkedIn or influenced by LinkedIn. I started posting more about, being a founder, what that looks like, some of the challenges and the wins, case studies more bottom of funnel. I am a, new mom of two. And I've recently, one off have started posting like, this is what it looks like to be a mom and a founder, which is interesting because it's not at all directly related to my business, maybe in Allison, the way that it is more directly related to yours. But I keep going to conferences and events and people are like, "Oh my god, you are like you're making this like feel realistic that you can, have a startup and be a mom." And so I'm actually now doubling down in content around that, which is, does so much better from an organic reach perspective. So it's something I've learned from listening and hearing and feedback, more on the personal side, but it also the professional side as well.
I love that. You mentioned 70% of leads influenced by LinkedIn. We're going to come back to, and I do want to talk about how you each think about measurement. Because one of the objections that I see and I hear is people don't understand how this stuff drives sales because what works on LinkedIn is to not actually be selling your product. And so it's like, well, how does this woman being a founder, having kids, talking about that, how's that actually drive business? And we're going to talk about that in a minute. Gil, what about you? I've seen you be active on LinkedIn for a while. Was there something that started it in particular for you?
I think my nature is different. I didn't start by talking and posting personally on LinkedIn. That was not part of my character. But I actually ended up traveling a lot and meeting a lot of customers in dinners. And my employees came to me in the middle of the year and told me that people want to hear more about my story. They want to hear why I started the company. They just want to hear me talk more about my life, about my journey as an entrepreneur. I also found that I don't really care to talk too much about B2B marketing. I'm passionate about B2B marketing, but it's not the thing I'm most passionate about. I'm much more passionate about psychology of a founder, balancing life as a family man and entrepreneurship, the journey, the shit show of going through, starting a company. And eventually I came to you, Dave, if you remember, and I asked you like, how the fuck do I do this? Excuse my language. How do I come up with posts that actually get engagement? And week in, week out, you taught me. I remember one time you told me like, my bathroom is where I have my best concepts for LinkedIn posts. And I was like, shit, okay, I'm gonna start investing more time in my. And so, jokes aside, this is exactly how it happened. And I ended up talking about what I care about most, which are the topics that I'm passionate about, the psyche of a founder and the problems that occur in entrepreneurship. And I think when you talk about things that you're really passionate about, you end up responding to every person because you actually care about it. You talk about it with a genuine language, and that end up working for me pretty great.
Well, I love that. I think so. So there's something that I want to call out for people here, and I think you're all in a slice of B2B, which is another part of this. But the reason that we've all focused on LinkedIn is because, and Adam and I have traded a bunch of messages on this, is like, I think you have with LinkedIn, you can be wildly successful with this tactic, and you don't have to like put your face on camera. You don't have to edit videos. You can literally just write. And as founders of tech companies today, you are spending 80% of your day writing. You're writing emails, you're writing investor updates, you're writing in Slack, you're writing hard messages to the team to share updates. And I think you have a natural propensity to already be a writer. You just have to have that conversation that Gil and I had, which is like, how can I just kind of switch my brain on here and think about, oh, this could be interesting. I want to hear from you though. How do you each think about what to write? So I get this, I think a lot of people will get this concept of like, yeah, you want to share about the life of a founder and psychology, but I notice a big gap between like getting that and then actually like putting fingers to the keyboard and writing. So I'm curious to hear about each one of or maybe one or two people can volunteer their answer here, like your actual writing process. Are you just literally sitting in the bathroom typing typing on your phone and coming up with LinkedIn posts? Do you have a backlog? Do you have a system? Anyone want to tackle that?
So we have a Slack channel called Founder Brand, and whenever I have an idea, I look at an Instagram, it inspires me, I just post it in there, and then I batch. So I have someone who helps me write, and I will record. So we'll go through and I'll be like, okay, I want to write about women in the Olympics, and how there was a pregnant fencer. And so I'll talk through like why I think that's interesting, why that's relevant to what I care about. She'll write it, and then I batch edit to make sure that it's in my voice. So that's kind of the process that we have, and ideas come from everywhere.
Adam, what do you do?
It's much harder than that. So I think it was throwing spaghetti against the wall for like a year. And then I started talking about my own problems directed at B2B revenue leaders instead of trying to write for e-commerce.
Wait, but isn't that an important part of the process though? Like, don't you feel like if you didn't throw the spaghetti for a year, I feel like a lot of people come out of the gate and try to like either be too perfect, where a huge thing that I often have hard time articulating is like, you need the feedback loop. Like if you want to commit to doing this, I almost think you should just commit to writing for like 6 to 12 months and actually not care about the result, because you need to like figure out where you're at. And I've seen you talk about this, but I feel like that's how you found this pocket, right?
Yeah. And I like Devin Reed calls it content market fit. And I think it's very similar to getting product market fit in a startup. It's like, you don't know how long it's going to take. It'll happen eventually, but there's no magic bullet, and like, you just have to do it. But now, I have there's this idea of content pillars. I have a very good idea of what I'm writing, of these 3 audiences I have, which one it's going to hit. I have a really good idea of how the post is going to do in advance a lot of the time. And yeah, I batch also. I try to do 3 or 4 per week. But I write them, and, I just haven't found that working with ghostwriters speeds it up that much. And yeah, I don't know. It's not, it kind of exhausts me when I think about it.
It is a lot of work.
I feel like it's so hard, but like, it is just like, there's no, so I also think that like in the world today, if you have the ability to create truly great social content, organic social content that your prospects actually want to read on their own without any dollars behind it, it's the biggest leveler that has ever existed. I have more LinkedIn reach than 6 Cents, right? Yeah. Why? Because like, I'm good at it, because I give my life to it, and then I know when a big post hits and I can run ad spend behind it, and my ad spend works 100 times better than theirs does.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
Gary Vee, who's talked about social media for a while, in his latest book was called Day Trading Attention. He talks about how, and this has flipped my brain a little bit. I think this is very wise for founders. We obsess over paid marketing, right? But actually, if you think about it, if you do, or if doing organic, every single post from you is actually an advertisement for your
yes.
brand. It could
Exactly.
just be, it could be Kate posting a photo like on the plane with her two little kids coming back from a trip. Boop, that adds 2 points in like the, I think I might like Kate brand affinity bucket. Like each one of those things happens that way. You also mentioned the, your reach being bigger than 6 cents. Like I've been at this a little while, but I just looked at this the other day. In the past 365 days, I've generated 13 million impressions from my LinkedIn account. Like
Incredible.
there are marketing teams with 50 to 100 people that can't do that, and it costs me nothing. But this is why I hate, with a capital H, I hate when founders tell me like this takes time, because I want to scream through I want to say no shit. So
Right.
you're telling me you want to do something that is going to be basically free other than your time, give you an unfair advantage to help you build business and grow your company, help you attract candidates, get you more inbound requests, get you speaking at events like this, but you're not willing to put in the time, then this is not going to work for you. I know each one of your stories, each one of you has put in the time. This is like going to the gym twice and being like, why am I not in good shape? You need to commit to the time here. If we go back to the hurdles though, a big hurdle is that founders have this fear of like being judged, right? I don't want to put myself out there. Can any of you speak to how do we help people get over that? I even remember working with Gil in the early days. He's like, I don't know about this one. Like this China's like a little bit cringy. How do you get over that? How can we help other founders or marketers get over that? The ick factor, as Kate says in our chat. I love that.
When I first started doing this, I had our marketing person review everything. So my process sounds very similar to Kate and Adam's. I spend an unbelievable amount of time. I write everything on my own. So I actually don't have a ghostwriter. But in the earlier days, I had our marketing person check it because I was scared, honestly. And over time, like I wish that there was a great answer of like, do this thing and then you'll be fine. You just have to keep doing it and you get more comfortable. And if you bring in someone else to say, is this a little too controversial? Especially when I post about parental leave, this can be very political. It can be very sensitive. There's a lot of like gender and, other things in this that could be dangerous or controversial. And I have found a lot of comfort bringing in another person. And now I don't even do that anymore because now I've found my footing and I feel very confident about what I'm posting. I don't know that there's like a great hack to that though. I think
Well,
it's
you need the reps of this, and you also know that like the feed is very ephemeral. And so it might be one moment, but like people already don't know what I posted yesterday, and you're
yeah.
going to have lots of at bats, right?
And by the way, you can delete it. I've deleted a post or two because I've posted something and then thought,
Yeah.
is that really what I
What are
want?
they? What's it? Felt cute. Might delete later.
Right.
I was just going to add that I like arguably think that the more controversial topics, like they perform better for
They
me.
do. Yeah.
And
Yeah,
I also,
you got Mr. Controversy, the tall man over there in the corner. It can talk a lot about this.
Controversy is a strategy.
Yeah, for you,
Sorry,
for
go ahead,
you,
Kate.
it's work.
Keep going with what you're
no,
saying.
just like, I mean, Allison and I also speak to kind of like women's gendered issues, which definitely touches politics, which, touches all these things. And I have had these absurd like responses and comments on it on these like viral LinkedIn posts. But I ultimately think that like I'm building a brand that I want my company to stand behind, and I'm okay with people understanding where my position is on these issues. So I think that's like part of
Yeah.
what's
Well,
important.
you're hitting on also why you're great at this is like if you're not a founder with strong opinions and have clear takes, then this is not going to work anyway. And so this is why this relates to like the reason I wrote the book is like, man, you meet a founder who has like a very strong point of view on their market. It doesn't even have to be politically, but like their market and how they're solving things. Perfect ingredients about what it takes to be successful. Like what we're talking about here, each one of you has a very clear and specific lane. You might have multiple pillars, like Adam now has multiple pillars of things he talks about. But we're not just saying like, use LinkedIn, post a picture of you at lunch, post a picture of you from a team retreat. It's like, nope, very clearly like Allison's narrative is about, changing the face of corporate America and parental leave policies, right? Adam's going after some of the incumbent companies in data and marketing and inbound lead generation, right? Gil's been talking about performance marketing and B2B marketing for a while. And so I think you have to get in those lanes, and then you sprinkle in your personality within the guardrails of those lanes.
Can you be a successful person without enemies and judgment? It's impossible. I
No,
got
it's
buried.
impossible.
I remember I got buried and I didn't delete that. Allison, you're talking about deleting the post. I got buried for a post I wrote about some employee who left, and I took him back. They even put it, I think, on Reddit. There's like a special thread on Reddit for CEOs who post something that
Oh
people
yeah.
hate. And I was like, you know what? That's a fucking badge of honor. I had so many employees call me like, oh God, you should take off these posts. It doesn't look good. I'm like, I didn't do anything bad. I stand behind it. I'll take it. I'll take the heat.
Yeah.
And it was one of the best posts I've ever had. I didn't delete it. It's still in the history. I checked it. I'm still on Reddit, and I'm cool with it. It's okay. I'm
Yeah,
sure
you
you're there.
gotta I'm definitely there. You gotta just accept that, and it's part of the trade-off of putting yourself out there online, and it goes with it. I want to hit on this, which I think is really important too. Each one of you is not just blindly having someone ghostwrite your posts and schedule them, and then like, hey, and I'm not saying that doesn't work. You can actually achieve like low level success doing that, but if you really want this to work for your business, you have to be in here deeply. And so you can't just hire someone to ghostwrite for you. Each one of you has very clearly your tone, your fingerprints are all over that. And also what makes social media work is it's in the name, it's social media. It has to be two-way engagement. And so like, I get some of the best ideas from things I comment on other people's posts. And if I was having some intern do that for me, I wouldn't be able to get that. And so I might see a post that Adam writes, and I write a comment on his post, and all of a sudden my comment is like the most liked comment on his post. And now I have another idea of what to do. Or just even small things like little fist bumps and reactions to someone who reads Allison's post and say, hey, wow, this really struck a chord with me. This is thoughtful. Like Allison needs to be there actually responding. I think if you want to do this for real, you cannot outsource the hard work piece of this. We don't have that much time left, so I want to talk about results. Marketers' favorite question. Most of this audience is going to be marketers. How do we know if this is driving results? Let me guess. You're all putting the demand gen team at each one of your companies, or whoever owns revenue is you're putting perfectly UTM'd tagged links in all of your posts so you can track all of this, right? How does it work? Kate, maybe you can kick us off, since you mentioned 70% of leads are influenced by LinkedIn. How do you know that?
So when someone books a demo, we ask where they heard about us. So some people directly will say LinkedIn. The others, it comes up often in those demos. So, I mean, this is like totally bottom of funnel. But if you step into an event, I mean, we are a small startup, and you would think that we're as big as Klaviyo. That is like how well, which like, sorry, for those in the e-commerce space, it's a, multi-billion-dollar company. So people know us, they know me, they know Bridge, they ask to work for us, they ask if we're hiring, but like we have those bottom of funnel. But that kind of hype and people knowing about us and that spreading of the word, that was kind of the first indications.
Let's go around the horn. I want to hear how each of you have felt the measurement part of LinkedIn. Gil, you go next. Go Gil, Allison, and then Adam.
I just went to an event, and I don't like saying that I'm the CEO of Metadata. I walked through. It was in Israel, and they said like, "Hey, where are you from?" I was like, "No, sorry." I was walking by, and I was said like, "Hey, I'm Gil. I'm with Metadata." And it was like, "Oh, Gil, you are the synonym of Metadata. I follow all of your LinkedIn posts." That's one person that I didn't know, and I was shocked to hear. I also closed a deal last month, just by putting a post out there. I think it's a accumulating value. Like you post a lot, you post a lot, you post a lot, you build a brand, and then one time you try to sell in one post. I was like announcing a services that we had. An hour later, I had an inbound call from that particular post, and we closed it. I think that's just accumulating value from that brand. It's not like I'm trying to sell every time. Like 90%, I'm not trying to, but then 10%, I'll put something commercial and it will hit because now I have 30K followers.
Yep, you build up the affinity and recognition. I can tell you for sure. our business this year, 90% of our members and sponsorships have come from LinkedIn, and they tell us about it. Allison, how do you know?
I don't spend even 1 second asking what the payoff is, because it is the single most important thing that I can do every single day. I wake up and think about LinkedIn. I go to sleep thinking about LinkedIn. It touches every part of our business. Every time we post a job, we get hundreds and hundreds of applicants because of my posts on LinkedIn and people feeling like they know me and what we stand for. I've gotten hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of like sponsorships. So like I get asked to go to conferences to speak instead of paying $50,000 to get up on stage. So I guess I could quantify that, but like if I just picked even one thing, client relationships, I don't travel to go meet clients because they already know me. I mean, it's like I could go on and on and on, that it's not even a worthwhile exercise to try and quantify it, because you could pick one little aspect of this and say, well, that's worth it there. Last thing I'll say is like, I spend a lot of time thinking, how do I pull myself out of the business? I think as any company scales, you're trying to figure out, how do I pull the founder out of everything as much as possible? And how we think about this is, how do we get me out of everything so that I can do this? This is the one thing that nobody else at the company can do. And it is good for morale. We're a totally remote company. And so people know exactly how I talk about things and how I think about things. So I'm just, as you can tell, very obsessed with LinkedIn. I think
I feel you. I have I'm
another
experiencing
this.
some growth for the first time. We went from me, just a solo person business, to a team of 5. And just last week, Dan, my business partner, basically yelled at me, and he's like, "I need you out of the weeds. We got people here. Get out of our stuff." And he's like, "Go write some stuff on LinkedIn." Okay.
Yes. But
Adam,
then
how
I'm like,
how
are we like, we're the first movers here, sort of. Are we giving up all these things and now all these other people are going to crowd the market? I don't know. Maybe
maybe I like the
It's
challenge.
not happening.
We got to keep innovating.
Yeah.
How do you know, Adam?
So everything Allison said, exclamation point. And like there's demand generation and it's demand capture and demand creation. You can measure demand capture, you can't measure demand creation. I have actually taken myself out of my business and this is all that I do now. I think I have an advantage where I can be more authentic than everyone else because I don't have investors. I think my employees like it, which is not a shared belief between a lot of people. And I think that if you told CEOs like us that you should spend 80% of your time doing this, we're 10 years away from people thinking that's a reasonable thing. So I think that people can start posting, but who would give it a year? Almost no one. Who has investors would give it a year? Almost no one. Who can actually be as authentic as we can? Almost no one, right? So, but like you should, because it's more powerful than anything else that's ever existed. How do I measure it? It's the only thing driving this new business I started 5 months ago. Today we will hit 2 million ARR. I have 5 people. I haven't spent it. Well, I spent $10,000 the last month on thought leadership ads, but like the only other thing that is driving this sort of viral exponential expansion is founder brand content.
Love
Right,
that.
like-
I love what you said about taking a year. I'm someone who loves to move. I love to work out, and I've recently, over last year, adjusted my strategy because I like to do it all the time. I didn't like to do like 3 crazy hard workouts once a week. I like to work out every day, and so I do something small every single day with no goal in mind, just because I enjoy it and the results compound. And it's exactly applicable to what is possible with founder brand and writing about your business and doing it on LinkedIn. If you're listening to this, I think you need to commit to the process. And every single person I've known, every founder I've worked with, every company I've been at, when you start doing this, all of your worries about how will I know it's working go away, because all of a sudden, boom, Allison finds a key employee that just came in through inbound. Adam finds a new partner to work with that comes in through inbound. Gil closes a new deal because he goes to a conference. The signs present themselves if you're able to commit to the process. And so hopefully we convince you a little bit today to believe in this process, help you get over some of those objections and commit to this. It works really well, but it's also a lot of work. And so that's a trade-off. Do you want to do that? Or do you just want to keep taking all of your money and putting it into the Google machine and hoping that works too? So the last thing I want to wrap up with, people often ask me, okay, great, I'm into this topic. Who should I follow? Well, that's why we put this panel together today. Go to LinkedIn. Your call to action is go to LinkedIn, find Gil, follow Gil, find Kate, find Allison, find Adam, find myself, follow our stuff, get in the mix, start liking our posts, engaging on our stuff. You need to get some reps in here by watching what other people do. And that is what separates great marketers from the average ones, is they have a curious mind and they're always looking for things to add to their swipe file. This was an awesome panel. I feel like we could have talked about this for 3 hours. Thanks to each of you. Shout out to Metadata for letting us talk about this. And good luck building your founder brand and doing founder-led marketing out there.